Welcome everybody to the DwnFwdPUNCHcast, episode 25. I'm your host, Jason Saris, and back from what could be considered the dead, Topher. Topher, how are you?
Still kicking.
It's been a while since you've made an episode. You've been on a little hiatus. You've been a busy guy.
What the audience doesn't know is that I've been here. I was just behind the camera. I was supervising. Basically, we kind of fell into the system where Dave and Jason were here, and then I was using sign language to tell Dave what to say, and then he would usually just ignore me and say whatever he was going to say anyway. But I was there. I was trying.
True story. The audience didn't know, and I didn't know that either.
Yeah. I had a lampshade on my head, so Jason didn't really realize.
Kind of like Sia, right? Like how.
Yeah. That is
Wow.
what that is, isn't it?
Anyways, good to see you again. I'm glad that you can join us today. We got a great show for you today. We're going to get into a couple things. There's some news about Phil Spencer's Pomotion, which is going to bring some interesting topic of conversation. Also going to talk some Tokyo Game Show. And the Nintendo Switch has got an interesting secret to it. But before we did that, I thought because it had been so long since you've been able to make an episode, earlier we had asked for the audience, anybody who wanted to write in if they wanted to ask Topher a question, with a little segment I want to call, Hey Topher.
Hey Topher.
So without further ado, if you wouldn't mind maybe doing some viewer mail.
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Cool. Now, you have not seen these questions yet, right? You're
No.
just... Okay. Perfect. So, here we go. Wait no more. Here is Hey Topher.
Let's check out some viewer mail here. Lizardo998 writes, Dear Topher, you guys suck. Wow. That's poignant stuff, but kind of obvious. Alright. Number 2, Superlicious writes, Topher, what the hell is a cobradactyl? It's more or less what it sounds like. It would be a cobra, which is obviously one of those spooky snakes, and like at the top, and then it goes back and it becomes a dactyl. So there's like wings. It's got the snake head, but there's wings. It flies. It's very creepy stuff. You wouldn't like it. Number 3, Fangirl87 writes, Greetings, Topher. I heard you mentioned you have some kind of handle of KHGamer17. Handle as in like moniker, I guess. What's the KH mean? Thanks. KH stands for Kingdom Hearts, which would be my favorite game and gaming franchise to date. I've had that username KHGamer17 for some service or another since like middle school, and I still use it on some things. Other things I'm covered at. Just Stacy. I don't know about this one. I don't know if I believe this one. I don't think anybody named Stacy is writing to talk to me. Anyway, hi Topher. I like your name. It reminds me of Topher Grace from that 70s show. Are you related to him? That's funny, actually, that you asked that, Stacy, because I am Topher Grace. I was Topher Grace. After a bumpy ending to my career, I decided, I wanted to do a different direction. YouTube podcast was really what I wanted to go for. So I dropped the Grace because I felt like the Grace was too unique and like identifying. So I kept the Topher, dropped the Grace, picked up, the Greekest sounding thing I could think of, which was Saris, and here we are. Catatonic Piano 9 writes, Topher, you are the only good part of the show. Why do you hang around these other clowns? I've asked myself this question before because it's obvious. I am basically I'm the glue that holds really this whole thing together. And why am I hanging around these clowns? I don't know. I ask myself the same thing. Honestly, I haven't come up with a good answer. I just happen to appear in front of this cell phone camera every once in a while. Sometimes I don't even know how I managed to get here. So hopefully one day I'll figure that out and rectify the situation. Number 6. Ooh boy, XX Bill XX writes, Dear Chris, and then in parentheses he wrote, Topher, I've heard you say how much you like The Last of Us. I did too, but have been wondering how Ellie ended up being involved with a bunch of terrorists before the game began. What do you think? I think that really depends on your position on how you view the Fireflies. Are the Fireflies terrorists, or are they just some people down on their luck, and they're trying to, they're just trying to get along? Truth is, they do talk about how Ellie got involved with the Fireflies. I believe her mom was friends with Marlene, the character who introduces Ellie to our protagonists, Joel and Tess. But Ellie's mom doesn't make it to the point where we are introduced to the gang, so that's how Marlene's supposed to. Monkey Dan writes, "Dear Topher, but this one really speaks to me." And I would say, Monkey Dan, yeah, but.
Not a bad set of questions.
Not a good one either, but it was definitely somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. The guy with the X's, I don't know.
I thought for sure that question was going to be like, "Hey, did you know I effed your mom last night?"
Yeah, I mean, there were some of those too, but they did not make the cut for the show.
That'll be a different
Some
segment.
shenanigans were okay, but there was a point where it's like, this doesn't help anybody. The guy at the end was a Monkey Dan Monkey, something like that.
God bless him.
With butts, I almost didn't include that on the list because I was like, what do you do with this? But I was like, you know what?
No.
You finished this segment with this.
Yeah.
That seems like a strong note to live. So thank you, Monkey Dan. Okay, so Phil Spencer, the head, or they call him the president of Xbox, head of Xbox, whatever. He took the position a few years ago, and it was just announced earlier today. Actually, you guys are probably seeing this after. It takes a few days for us to finish recording and whatnot. And as of the day of this recording, it was announced that Phil Spencer has been promoted to now report directly to the Microsoft CEO, Nadja Nadella, or I don't know how to say his name correctly. But this comes in the aftermath of Nadella ordering the restructuring of Microsoft back in, I think it was July. And they have moved Phil Spencer now to report directly to him. He was previously reporting to somebody that was part of the Windows and Devices segment of Microsoft. And I think this is interesting. But before I get to my thoughts, have you heard this news, and what do you think about it?
I did hear about this, although I don't have a whole lot of thoughts about it. I don't know how Microsoft's hierarchy works or whatever. The only thing is, it seems like maybe they want Xbox to be a more prominent branch and not be what did you call it? Devices and
Windows and Devices.
Windows
yeah.
and maybe not. They don't want it to feel like a subsection of that. They want it to be its own department. Main department, I guess. I don't know.
And just a quick correction, it just hit me that it's Satya, not Nadja. It's Satya Nadella. So sorry for the correction.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's
a very important man. He's a very important man. I don't want him to come after me. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think you're right. It's almost saying like Xbox is a more prominent part of the Microsoft business model. What do you think that this means as far as where does the benefit come to Xbox owners?
It's hard to say. I don't know. Does this put Phil Spencer in a position where he is more free to make decisions or something? I don't really know. I mean, if that's the case, that seems fine. The guy he seems like a good guy. He's been. How long has he been the head since DwnFwdPUNCh?
Let's see, 2014 I think when he took over Xbox. I mean, I've liked the stuff that Phil has done. I mean, Phil is obviously a gamer. I mean, he talks about it all the time. He talks about the things he's playing. He's on Xbox Live. I mean, you can see him doing things, playing games. He talks about them in a way that was different from a lot of the other Xbox heads. I mean, you mentioned Don Matrick, who almost destroyed the brand, with just a horrible launch to the Xbox One. But there were other heads of Xbox that did a much better job than DwnFwdPUNCh did. I mean, like Seamus Black, he did a fine job. It's still different than I feel Phil Spencer has done. Phil Spencer, I feel like, has made a lot of moves that have really been beneficial for gamers as a whole. And it's interesting because despite the fact that Microsoft is losing this generation, I feel like it's a great time to be a Microsoft consumer because a lot of great things have come towards end users, right? I mean, we got 360 backwards compatibility. We've got old school backwards compatibility coming. He unbundled the Kinect, which was what a lot of people wanted. We've got an Xbox One S that, started to kind of get in the market for, 4K streaming, that kind of thing. Now we have the One X coming. There's a lot of things that are coming that have been just kind of nice little nods and things that I don't know that we would have had under another leader. So I think he's done a nice job, and I think that the promotion is well deserved. I do think that this is going to be helpful for what Xbox is still missing, and that's games, right? And exclusives. And I'll tell you why. Christopher, you spent a little bit of time in the corporate world, correct? Not a whole lot of time, but a little bit of time.
A blink, absolutely, yeah.
While you were in corporate America, did you get to see any, behind the scenes kind of, talk about how people allocate money and projects and that kind of thing at all?
I may have. It was a little hard to tell at the time what I was seeing because my eyes were very blurry because I was always crying. So maybe I got a taste of it, but I've tried very hard to purge all memory of that time of my life. So, take it away if you want to enlighten us.
So I spent a long time in corporate America as well, and I was actually in a managerial position. I ran a division of a company, and I can tell you that when money is allocated, right, it starts at the top and it gets spread out amongst divisions. So what I think that this promotion does is puts Phil Spencer in a better position to be able to get the purse strings to go make a big splash, whether it comes to exclusives or whatnot. So before, let's say Microsoft had, Windows and devices and other softwares and, mobile phones or whatever, and they split all their things up into, let's say, 5 categories. I don't know what the actual number was, but let's say it was 5 categories, right? You take your first pot of money and you say, here's, let's say $1 million, right? And sure, it's a lot more than that, but just for even round numbers, here's $1 million. Now we have to take this $1 million and then allocate X percentage of that to this group, X percentage of that to this group, X percentage of that to this group, and then those groups then do the same thing downward, right? So in the previous state, Microsoft would say, here is the amount of money that Windows and devices is allowed to have for 2018. Then Windows and devices segment has to then look at it and say, all right, of this is how much I want to give to Xbox, and here's how much I give to the other parts within this umbrella. By Phil Spencer getting promoted to report directly to Satya Nadella, now he gets the bigger bag, right? And he can allocate where that goes underneath him. But that's got to be a lot better position for him to actually have the bigger lump sum. So now he doesn't have to go, have his first batch of money or even decision making. He doesn't have to go up through somebody to then clear it through them to then go clear it through Nadella. He can just go straight to Nadella and say, this is what I want to do. Here's why. And he's only got one person he's got to convince now rather than it being 2. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but in corporate America, that's a lot because that one other person is responsible for a lot of other things. So even though it's one extra person, that's another 15, 20, 30 decisions because of all the dominoes that fall with it. So I think this is a good thing. And I think that means that there is going to be good things coming for Xbox users. Probably not immediately, obviously, but in the future.
No, that sounds fair. And what I would maybe like to see them do, since you're focusing on the finances, which is probably the biggest, influence that it'll have, they should maybe invest more in first-party developers, which I don't remember exactly who they have under their belt right now. I mean, there's Microsoft Studios, of course.
Right.
There's 343 Industries, which they own.
Yep. Coalition. They do the Gears of War franchise.
Oh, okay.
Turn 10. who does Forza.
So whether it's those developers or maybe even looking into some other developers or maybe indie developers to take under their umbrella, this could be a good time for them to start making those decisions.
I've been saying for a while that I'm surprised that Microsoft hasn't tried to make some kind of bid for like Capcom. I mean, Capcom's been struggling for a while, or Namco. You know, Bandai Namco has been struggling for a while in the U.S. You would think that these might be somebody that could be purchased at some point. I mean, Capcom has got like a great portfolio of stuff, but you know, how often do we see a solid title from them? It's like so sporadically.
I guess so, but they like the fighting game community probably holds Capcom afloat and will continue to do so even when they do release bad games.
Yeah, and it might, but like I think wasn't it Capcom that was filing for bankruptcy not too long ago? Like they had to restructure. It was like a handful of years ago. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong company, but Capcom is not the juggernaut that it once was. And you're right that like, you know, their Capcom Marvel vs. Capcom franchise.
Well, there's Street Fighter.
And Street Fighter.
That's big. There's like that's a huge following.
Yeah, but even Street Fighter games, it's not like we get those routinely. We get those every few years, and it's got a big following, but it's still not, you know, you think about how many games that they produce and how many of them are hits, even if you look at just the Street Fighters, which are still have a big following, there's a lot of, the quality of Capcom's gone down. They have a lot of good properties, but they don't have a lot of good work behind those properties. The last couple Resident Evils were a little you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's plenty of companies out there or brand. I'm sure that there are publisher or developers that they could purchase to try to help out or make some kind of unique arrangement with, similar to what they did with Bungie back in the day, where it was not really a Microsoft, you know, owned property, but they had like a nice agreement going where it was more like a second party thing. I agree that those would be nice steps to take, and maybe that's something that could happen now. But I want to shift gears just a minute. Tokyo Game Show is actually going on this week. So by the time this recording actually comes out, it probably would have taken place and it's just finishing up or something to that effect. But what's nice is that Sony often releases their highlights early, like right before the show starts. So we did get that. Did you see anything about this yet?
Just a few things. I've been keeping my eye on like a lot of Final Fantasy stuff lately, which they did show a couple things that got me excited.
Yeah. Is that what was most exciting for you, was Final Fantasy?
It was a big surprise that they dropped Final Fantasy IX, and now it's like completely out of the blue, and it's already available for download on the PlayStation Network. Obviously, Final Fantasy IX is not a new game, but it's always exciting to get a port of an older game to look a little nicer, run a little smoother. And but there was a trailer for Shadow of the Colossus that got me like real.
Shadow of the Colossus is looking real good.
Yeah.
You didn't play the original one, correct?
I did play the original one.
You did, okay.
And I played it on PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3.
Okay. And you would still purchase it again to play on PlayStation 4? Yeah. I've not played I've not played it on PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3. It does look good, and I mean this looks great. I'm really impressed too with. Every time you see the trailer, the music really gets me. Like it really pulls me into what's happening there, and that may seem very cliche to say, but it's. I look at some of the other games, like I think it was the Monster Hunter trailer that they showed, and like I have no idea what Monster Hunter is. Like I mean, I've heard it, I've seen the trailers, whatever. Like this is something that a lot of people are looking forward to. I don't understand why, and probably because I don't own a PlayStation. But I see this game, and the music that they're playing totally turns me off from the whole title. Like, did you see the trailer?
I didn't see this latest trailer.
Oh my god! Like,
was it just like accordions or something? What do they do?
All right, so like, I feel like it's a modern. The best way I can describe it is like, you remember playing like Final Fantasy VII, and like when you're just walking in between things, and you have like that bouncy kind of like MIDI music.
I think you need to be careful, because if you're going to tell me Final Fantasy VII does not have good music, I might leave the house.
No. I'm not saying that it doesn't have good music. I'm just saying like when you're doing like in between just grinding stuff, you're not like in any important spot. We're like when you're just walking in fields, right? And it's just like that, and like just like basic MIDI music, which is fine for when you're just walking along. This has her through the whole trailer, and the music just seems wildly inappropriate for what you're watching. Okay. Like, you have these epic battles where, like, you're seeing these guys try to take on some giant monster, and the music seems like you should be skipping.
Well, I know the Monster Hunter series does have like a certain tongue-in-cheek element to it. Like, again, I didn't see this trailer, so it could just be hilariously inappropriate. I don't know, but it doesn't take itself too seriously all the time. Like, it definitely does have those big moments with like big, spooky-looking monsters, like I'm a big dragon or whatever.
Yeah.
But then sometimes there's monsters that's like, fear,
a little bit goofy, and that's fine. I mean, like, again, I'm not familiar with the franchise. I know a lot of people are. If you've played it or if you've seen the trailer and you think that the music is fine, let us know in the comments. If
you think
agree
Final
that
Fantasy
it's
VII
crazy.
has good music, let us know in the comments. If you think it has great music, just unsubscribe from this channel because he's like talking mad dirt about it. I don't like that at all.
I didn't say it had bad music. I'm just saying that the part of Final Fantasy it's appropriate for that part of Final Fantasy. It did not seem appropriate for what I was seeing from the Monster Hunter
You
trailer.
picked the wrong franchise to try
It's
to.
the first thing that came, and actually, now that I think about it too, might have been Chrono Cross that I'm thinking of. I don't know. I played both of those around the same time, and it's confusing in my brain. Another thing that we saw was PSVR is going to hold a gaming music concert.
I did not see anything about this.
Do you remember? So a few episodes ago, I don't remember, like 4 or 5 episodes ago, we were talking about PlayStation's. Sony had a presentation to investors, and they were talking about the future of where they were taking the strategy, right? A change in their strategy, and one of those was how they're going to try to push VR in ways that were not specifically gaming. Do you remember us talking about that?
I don't, because I don't watch the show, and usually when I'm here, I'm zoned out. No, I know what you know.
Okay, so we were talking about that, and some of the slides, because we were able to get a hold of some of the slides that were at the meeting, and some of the slides showed the PSVR, and they were showing different things, and one of them looked like it was music related, and we were talking about how maybe they were going to run it with concerts, right?
Yeah, okay.
Well, it turns out we were right, so all of our speculation pays off sometimes. They are doing some kind of concert which you have like full orchestras, they're playing music, and what they were playing was actually music from Shadow of the Colossus, I believe, while they were playing this trailer. And you put your Sony VR on, your PlayStation VR on, and you can look at the composer and them do their things, and you can kind of back out and look at other stuff that are interacting with the music and stuff. I think it's a neat idea. I like the idea of using the VR headset for more than just gaming, just because there's such a slow trickle of games. Like, you have to fill in the gaps somewhere.
That's true.
Obviously, the best thing would be if they had a ton of titles for the PSVR, but until you get to that point, you got to fill in gaps somehow, and this I thought was an interesting way to do it. You don't have a PSVR, but I know you know some people that do. Is this something that you would check out if you had access to their headset?
Watching a concert, live concert.
Yeah, I mean specifically like this gaming music concert.
Possibly. I mean, like, I've had interest in going to like a Distant Worlds concert, which is the Final Fantasy orchestra.
What's the Legend of Zelda one? I can't remember what it's called now.
Ooh,
It's like Symphony of the Goddess, maybe?
couldn't tell you.
I think that's what it's called. I think it's called Symphony of the Goddess.
But that actually, that would interest me as well. Now, I don't know if it's exactly going to be these shows in particular, but like, I've had vague interest in doing something like that. They're never in, the Midwest. They're always.
Symphony of the Goddess is coming.
Where?
Here, it's coming to Cleveland.
Did you get tickets?
I've thought about it. Leslie said she won't go with me. She's my wife. She's like, video game music?
Not for much longer.
Yeah, she's like, you gotta go do your podcast. Anyway, so then we had to kind of round out the Tokyo Game Show. There was also a new Square Enix game announcement trailer.
Yes.
Left Alive. Did you see that?
Left Alive. I did.
What'd you think?
I'm interested. I'm a kind of like a pretty big fan of Square Enix, to the point where I think it would be somewhat fair to say, like, I'm kind of a fanboy, kind of a little bit. I'll defend them when they might not deserve it, but also sometimes they get a lot of hate they don't deserve, which is like, not trying to be about that. People who say Final Fantasy VII doesn't have good music, I don't like it. So
I'm never gonna let that go. Did
but
you play Front Mission? Like, are you familiar with that franchise?
this is new.
This takes place in the Front Mission world. It's a spin-off from Front Mission.
Oh, I thought it was whole new IP. That's what I was under the impression of. But no, I didn't. I haven't played Front Mission.
Okay. So I guess I've looked into this a little bit since the trailer because there wasn't a whole lot since the announcement trailer, but the stuff that I've uncovered since then, I guess there's 3 protagonists in the game. It's like a first person. It's like a shooter mixed with like a mech of some sort.
Yeah, we did see some mechs in that teaser, but they describe it as what, like a survival action shooter.
Yeah, which sounds cool.
That does sound cool, and I'm trying to think like what kind of game would I classify as like a survival action.
I'm actually playing Metro 2033 right now. And that is a survival action game for sure.
Okay.
But you get to...
But also mechs.
Yeah, there's no mechs in Metro. At least not that I haven't covered.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I haven't played Metro.
Maybe the radiation has grown a Transformer toy into a mech. I don't know.
Who's to say?
But there's 3 protagonists. I guess you get to rotate between them, and depending on who you're playing, you get the same ending but from different perspectives, which is interesting.
Kind of sounds like Grand Theft Auto 5, because they had the 3 protagonists that you can cycle through, and that worked out very well. I thought so. I thought Grand Theft Auto 5 was really good.
That's fair. Okay. Anything else of note from Tokyo Game Show that you're aware of?
Noctis is coming to Final Fantasy Dissidia NT, which is surprise to nobody because that was obviously going to happen.
Obviously.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know what that means because he's too busy thinking about how good
that was
Final
the
Fantasy
game
VII's music is.
That was the game that we played at Comic-Con,
Yeah.
right? Which had like a million things on the screen.
They have redesigned the UI for
Thank
that.
God.
It's still pretty cluttered because there's still a ton of information that they're trying to show you. But I appreciate the fact that they're at least trying.
They should, because that was a nightmare. Like, that was the Atari Jaguar controller of video game hubs.
Yeah. It's still pretty cluttered, but a little bit.
It's insane.
Improvement.
All right, so final topic I want to get to before we close out the show. The Nintendo Switch has a secret feature. Did you hear about this?
I did.
So if you don't know, the Nintendo Switch, somebody was going through the system code, because people can't leave anything alone these days, and they found a file that was titled flog, right? So they were like, that's interesting. I wonder what flog means. So as they start digging into this more and more and more, they found that it's actually it's a ROM of the 1987, I think, game of NES Golf. Now,
Like the whole game, right?
the whole game.
The whole game.
So it's on everybody's Switch apparently, but to access it, you got to go through like the most bizarre things. Have you heard how to access this?
No.
Okay. So first of all, it's believed that this is a tribute to Iwata, because Iwata was the primary coder for golf on the NES. Now, in order to access it, I don't know how people figure this out, but apparently your system has to be on July 11th. It has to the system date needs to be marked for July 11th, which was the day that Iwata passed away.
Oh.
Then, to make things even more complicated, because for a while somebody stumbled upon it, couldn't figure out how they did it, and couldn't get it back, right? So everybody's talking about it, and some people had some screenshots that they saw the code or whatever. Finally, there's a gentleman, I think his username, I want to say it was Fire3Element, not Fire Emblem, but Element. He posted a video walking you through how to actually access it, but he wants to remain anonymous apparently, because you don't see his face at all, and he doesn't talk. He just pantomimes what to do. So you have to be on July 11th, which if you're connected to the internet, it automatically syncs up. So there's some trickery to make it not sync, but you're going to have better luck if you've opened your Switch and have not connected it to the internet at all. So you have to set yourself to July 11th. Then you have to remove both the Joy-Cons and put them in the wrong hands. Then you have to do a gesture that Iwata does in some like early demo video that they made, where it's like you hold them like this and then you go out and up or something. And he had to do it like 6, 7, 8 times before it finally registered. You hear a noise coming from the OS that says, got it, or something with some like minor clapping. And then the game boots up. So it makes me wonder, is this some kind of feature that they were going to make everyone aware of somewhere down the road? Otherwise, why would this be in there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty circuitous way of launching golf.
I can't imagine that's the intended way. Like, if anything, because you can update remotely now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my theory is that they put it on there, and maybe they had this thing as an Easter egg thing, but there was a plan that at some point when they want to say, and by the way, on the anniversary of Iwata's passing, we've updated all these switches so this way you can actually go find golf. Because he died in what, 2014?
Yeah, maybe.
So
Might
maybe
be
on
more
the
recently than that.
on the 5-year anniversary or something, maybe this was the plan that they would tell everybody and you can get in. Because to your point, like,
Even
what a
that,
weird thing to put in there just where you had to go through all these hoops to
Yeah.
find it.
And also, like, anybody who wants to play NES Golf could do so pretty easily with the use of.
But these
like,
have
any
motion
kind of-
controls. You can actually use the Joy-Cons for them.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat thing, but there are people that are like, well, now I have my reason to buy a Switch, and I think that's
Wow.
ridiculous.
I mean, what they've been holding out for motion control NES Golf all this time.
It's like, I mean,
That's the niche market. There's not a whole lot of those guys.
maybe I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm not like super into golf games, but I could care less if I ever played a golf game. I think it's awesome that it's on my Switch, and if I could figure out how to whatever, I would play it. I would never purchase this. Like, I would never purchase NES Golf at this point.
Those golf games from that era are a whole different type of game than we have now. Because making a golf type experience on the NES, SNES, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. Now we've got pretty modern games. Like, I've been playing a lot of Everybody's Golf. Came out recently. That game's great. I don't even like golf in real life, but Everybody's Golf is fun.
Power Star Golf is actually pretty good too. I did play a little bit of that.
Mario Golf 64 was great.
Mario Golf, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2012. I forget which year I played. It was fun. It was actually fun.
people went bananas over Tiger Woods, and I think it was mostly because of the creative character.
Oh, it was funny though. You can make some pretty bad abominations.
Yeah.
Just scary people playing golf.
Well, that's why. I mean, do you remember when we were really big into WCW versus NWO on the N64?
Those creator wrestlers.
The creator wrestlers were
Yeah.
amazing. Like, it had the best creative wrestler system, and we had made what, like Yoda,
Oh man, you could do anything. Optimus Prime,
Optimus Prime, Starscream, Megatron.
Goku. Put him in there. Why not?
We had made all of us, which
Luigi's.
actually for the time to actually get character models that looked pretty similar to our likeness was really incredible because the technology then was not what it is now. But yeah, I think we had a Mario.
Oh, I'm sure. You could really.
There was like dinosaur, Godzilla was in there.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, like the things, and it would just be like just manipulations of what was not intended to work that way at all. But it was a great feature, so a lot of people appreciated Tiger Woods for the same reason. So yeah, So I think that's probably about all we have to say about all that topic then. So that's been episode 25. And if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can follow the group at DwnFwdPUNCH. That's at DwnFwdPUNCH. If you'd like to follow me, I'm at Sergio Armani. And if you'd like to follow Topher,
I'm at Kyoberdactyl. Kyoberdactyl.
Kyoberdactyl.
You know it already.
And, we'll do viewer mail maybe again sometime in the future. So if you would ever like to do a, Hey Topher, then feel free to tweet at him, at me, at the show. Or you can always email us. And our email address is downforwardpunchnews@gmail.com. And unlike the show title, which is just DwnFwdPUNCH, this is actually all the words spelled out.
Wow.
Although, to be fair, I have it the other way, too. You can pretty much set it either place. But the official one is all the words spelled out. We went through several iterations before finally.
I'm so glad we don't
landing
have
on
to
one
go
spot.
through the whole song and dance of whether or not Dave remembers his handle right now.
Oh, he doesn't. I'm sure we could
well,
phone him right now and he won't know. So, yeah. If you want to follow Dave, at
Don't even bother.
David_B_Reed.
Paul Blart. On Twitch.
There you go.
No, it's Paul Blart. Paul
Malblart. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because that's a movie everybody needs to remember.
Google search Twitch Paul Blart. I feel like he's probably the only one who's going to come up.
Only person that's brave enough to reference that they've seen Paul Blart. Yeah. Okay. Until next time, keep on gaming.